Welcome to the History AI podcast, where the past comes alive with facts, anecdotes, and a dash of humor. Here are your hosts, Chuck and Marco.
Welcome to another episode of the History AI podcast. I'm your host, Chuck.
And I'm Marco. Today, we're diving deep into the life of a war hero, someone whose courage and strength are a testament to the indomitable spirit of a man in the face of adversity. We're talking about Sergeant William Henry Johnson.
Johnson. The Harlem Hellfighter himself. But before we get into his heroic deeds, let's start from the very beginning.
Great place to start. But first, Chuck, did you know that Johnson was known as Black Death?
That's one of those nicknames you get when you're too tough for a simple bill, I guess.
Indeed.
Johnson was born around 1897 in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Not much is known about his early life, but it's believed he moved to Albany, New York, as a teenager.
The journey from North Carolina to New York is a story of many African Americans of the time, looking for better opportunities in the North during the Great Migration. It wasn't just a physical journey, but a monumental shift in the life of an individual and a community.
Couldn't agree more, Marco. As for Johnson's family, the records are scarce. It's a reminder of how history can sometimes overlook the ordinary details of extraordinary people.
Before the war, Johnson held various jobs. He was a red-cap porter at Albany's Union Station. And though many might see that as a humble job, it required a unique set of skills, physical strength, attention to detail, and interpersonal communication.
Absolutely. It's easy to imagine young Johnson, hauling luggage, striking up conversations with passengers. Perhaps it was this mix of physicality and charisma that later made him such a formidable soldier.
When World War I broke out, Johnson didn't hesitate. He enlisted in the 15th New York National Guard Regiment, which later became known as the 369th Infantry Regiment, or more famously, the Harlem Hellfighters.
A choice that wasn't easy, considering the racial tensions of the time. The military was segregated, and black soldiers often faced discrimination from their own fellow servicemen.
It speaks volumes about Johnson's character. He wasn't just fighting for his country, he was fighting for respect, for recognition, for a better future for his people.
The Harlem Hellfighters, despite facing discrimination back home, were highly regarded on the battlefield. They were often at the front line, enduring some of the war's harshest conditions. But Marco, there's a particular night that stands out in Johnson's military career. A night that, honestly, feels like it's straight out of an action movie.
Oh Chuck, you must be referring to that fateful night of May 14, 1918, in the Argonne Forest. Set the scene for our listeners.
Picture this, it's a dark night, the eerie silence of the forest punctuated by distant artillery fire. Johnson and fellow soldier Needham Roberts were on sentry duty. Suddenly, they heard the rustling of wire cutters on the perimeter fence. German raiders were trying to break through.
Now, keep in mind folks, Johnson and Roberts were significantly outnumbered. Estimates suggest around 20 to 30 German soldiers against just the two of them. The odds? Not in their favor.
The Germans started with a surprise volley of gunfire. Roberts was injured early on, leaving Johnson to defend their post mostly by himself. But this was William Henry Johnson, a man of remarkable resilience and courage.
Johnson began returning fire until he ran out of ammunition. But he didn't stop there. Armed with grenades, he hurled them at the approaching Germans. And when those ran out,
he got creative. Using his rifle as a club and later wielding a bolo knife, a large, cleaver-like knife, he fought fiercely hand-to-hand, in intense close combat. All while ensuring that Roberts wasn't taken prisoner.
It's said that Johnson caused significant casualties among the Germans and even drove off a few who tried to drag Roberts away. That's not just bravery, that's loyalty.
When reinforcements arrived, they found a scene of utter chaos, with Johnson standing, despite being injured 21 times. For his unmatched bravery that night, the French awarded him the Croix de Guerre with a golden palm. That's their highest honor for acts of heroism in combat.
The Black Death, indeed. A name that on that night, he more than proved he earned. Before we continue with Johnson's life after the war, a quick word from our sponsor.
From the mind behind the History AI podcast comes an electrifying journey into the past. A ripple through time, Franklin's Folly. Dive into a tale where Benjamin Franklin, America's beloved inventor, takes an unexpected journey through time. But with his leap, he unleashes a powerful ripple. Now, with dark forces lurking in the shadows, harnessing this energy to shatter and enslave the world, it's a race against time. Will Franklin fix the future? Or will history rewrite itself? Uncover the secrets. A ripple through time, Franklin's folly. Time has never been more fragile. On Amazon pre-sale now. Johnson returned home a hero, even leading a victory parade in New York. But like many veterans, especially black veterans, the reception wasn't entirely warm.
The sad irony. He faced discrimination, struggled to find work due to his war injuries, and didn't initially receive the benefits he was promised.
In 1929, at the young age of 32, Johnson passed away. His heroism, somewhat forgotten. But, in the 1990s, efforts were made to recognize his bravery, culminating in 2015 when he posthumously received the Medal of Honor.
Johnson's story reminds us of the sacrifices made by black soldiers, their fight for recognition, and their undeniable role in shaping American history.
Absolutely. And, it's a testament to the idea that heroes aren't just those who are celebrated in their time, but those whose legacies endure, inspire, and ignite change.
And on that note, we'd like to thank all of you for joining us on this journey into the life of Sergeant William Henry Johnson.
Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and share the History AI podcast. Every click, every share helps us bring more stories from the annals of history to your ears.
Stay curious, stay passionate, and as always, keep digging into history. Until next time.